RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. It is the first day of the month of June. And man, are things going to heat up real quickly. Speaking of inflation, of course, hope all is well for everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Welcome to this live stream. Looking forward to connecting with you. Got a lot of articles in front of me here. I want to kind of dive into a little bit and then also find out what are you keeping your eye on? What are you noticing as far as the prices continue to go up in? What are you keeping an eye on? I'm curious to hear what that is. So as always, welcome to the live stream. My name is Mike. The host of Detroit's #1 late night YouTube talk show. And before I dive any further, I want to make sure I welcome any first-time viewers to the channel. If you are new, feel free to let us know where you're watching from via the chat or when the phone lines open. I would love to hear from you. The number is 313-462-0027. We'd love to hear where you're checking in from as well as what's on your mind. And I have, let me see it, man, a lot of interesting things here. And I actually wrote down some notes of things that I wanted to make sure I touch on. Because after having talked about this subject matter for so long now, it's just interesting to see how things are really surfacing. And when the mainstream narrative becomes a leading indicator of what's actually happening in the world, that lets me know that something is definitely around the corner. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So welcome to the live stream. I have a couple things I want to introduce you guys to, or just basically do some maintenance on my end, and then dive into all of these articles here, scan through the surfaces, and then open up the phone lines and hear from you guys directly. So welcome. Let's do this. And so let me go to the home page here. So for those that might be new to the channel, rethinkingthedollar.com is the place where you can find all the articles and resources, videos, you name it. And then for those that might be new, I want to encourage you to scroll to the bottom. And if you do, I would encourage you to take step 1, which is the Dollar IQ quiz, where you get a chance to test your current knowledge base based upon what we were not taught in school as to what actually what money actually is and the things moving forward. So if you're interested, feel free to do so. As of now, the average is still less than 60%. So more people are taking it now. And hopefully it's an awakening moment. So basically lets us know that we all have a lot more to learn about the monetary uses of currency. And more importantly, as you do, you'll definitely be pointed back to gold and silver, as well as anything else you choose to speculate in. So just something there if you guys are interested. And then tomorrow night, we're going to have the off the air RTD hangout for those that are a part of the Patreon gang. So if you're interested in joining us off air, face to face on screen, feel free to support the channel via Patreon, and you'll get the invite for tomorrow. And then I want to make sure I encourage everybody, if you have not, to connect with us in via all the social media tabs. And so on the screen here, you see everything where RTD can be found. Most important ones happens to be the 3rd, the 4th, and the 7th one, where you get a chance to connect, share articles and stuff like that. And then for those that want to get notified directly, consider becoming a member of the email list, and I'll shoot you out a email once a week with all the pre-planned or pre-scrimmaged or pre-announced live stream. So something worth checking into. And then I got to make sure I touch on this because it was quite obvious based upon the activity that happened yesterday with silver and gold, that, as I said before I left air, I was like, I guarantee you by the time the markets opened up here in the east or in the west or in the east rather, in the Western hemisphere, that there will be a definite spike down. And so we got up to 28, almost 29 or so. And then, of course, it all came crumbling down back to that 27.84 range. So basically almost $1-ish, give or take, was wiped off when the markets opened up because they can't afford to let silver and gold take off. And so not surprised at all. I'm sure you guys are not as well. So hopefully for those that are awake and aware, taking advantage of these prices while you still can get physical, because manipulation is your friend. Okay, so let me check in real quick via the chat. And then also for those that are tuning in, hit that thumbs up button, and hopefully a couple more people get notified. And so I take it that YouTube is not doing a good job of notifying people, but it's to be expected. So hopefully we can get as many people in here as possible so we can all just, basically plug in and see what's going on and walk through these waters together. So we got the New York Redneck in the building. We got Ed, we got Jay in the building. We got Dread Headlocks. We got Tom. We got Dude Boy. We got, let me see here. Keep it moving. We got Pablo Pina. All right, fair amount of people. Midnight Green in the building from Philadelphia. How you doing, my friend? We got Manuel. Says my first live stream here. How you doing, Manuel? Let us know where you're checking in from, my friend. What are you noticing out in your neck of the woods? We got Clint Eastwood. We got James. We got David says, what happened to silver doctors? Just a change of plan with the administration and the ownership there as far as how they want to do their marketing content. So they dialed back on a lot of things there. And what else we got here? It said, what's going on, Mike, here from Detroit? Okay, man, you are in Detroit. Good deal, man. Appreciate you for checking in. We got Mike from GA in the building. Okay, fair amount of people here. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got Tony B in the building. Okay, so what I want to touch on, and so I actually had a chance today to watch the World Economics Forum. They're having their Job Reset 21 or Job Resets 2021. And so the World Economic Forum, of course, for those that are awake and aware, they're the front-running entity that's behind all the dismantling and chaos that we're witnessing around the global economy, especially. And so as of right now, the mainstream narrative is preaching inflation. But I more so call it, asset price distortions, because asset prices at all-time highs and having surpassed all-time highs prior to was already prevalent. And so, of course, it was more so the assets that were labeled as wealth magnets in the most part, such as your stock portfolio. No one really minds when your portfolio happens to just take off and just go astronomical. That's a good thing, I guess. And I guess also your real estate, your home prices, whenever it's increasing in nominal value, that type of asset inflation there is a good thing. But the only time it becomes a problem is when it's involving consumer goods, which is the things that we consume on a day-to-day basis, i.e. the things that's labeled as items in the basket of goods that's calculated supposedly by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, with the CPI and the PCE, which is the Federal Reserve measuring tool, minus food and energy. And so now we have it to where in the streets right now, more news is surfacing about how prices are increasing. I got a buku articles here talking about, restaurants, stores, and you name it. Everybody now is vocal about the increased cost on them to do business. And so all of this, in my personal opinion, it goes back to the current world agenda, i.e. the Great Reset. And so it really got me going last night when I was talking about the partnership with JBS, the processing food company, that they joined a partnership on April 28th with the World Economic Forum. And so for those that like to think, around the mainstream narrative as to what we're told, to focus on where they're trying to take us, if we just look ahead to this conclusion of this, 10 years from now, give or take, you'll own nothing, you'll be happy with it. What will they have to do to complete that mission? And it's obvious they have to destabilize, disrupt, and disassemble every single structured way of life that we have. And so I want to actually point to a couple of things here that I believe plays into the true reason why the mainstream narrative is now focusing on consumer good inflation, as opposed to just having mentioned about the excessive increase in cost of everything, good and bad, throughout the last several years or whatnot. And so here is something I want to talk about. As I mentioned, I watched a couple of the videos from the Great Jobs Reset, the Jobs Reset. And these people here, they have categorized and strategically planned every event to the T according to the way they're talking. And so this upcoming Friday, the G7 countries are meeting to discuss the corporate global tax. And they're basically going to talk about what the rate will be, where every nation will eventually jump on board. And it's designed to basically tax corporations, which unfortunately happens to trickle itself down to the consumers, or what will be left of us, rather. And so I want to actually show you something. It's just me put some thoughts together, and then I'll get into some articles here and open up the phone lines. So I was actually today, just as I mentioned, also watching the Great Reset, and I was scrolling through Twitter, and I just, I typed in inflation, and there's a lot of leading stories where everyone's talking about inflation. And I believe it's not necessarily that the goods and services by themselves are more costly for manufacturers, producers, as well as the distributors. But I also would like to believe that as a part of this Great Reset agenda. And so here's just, I was trying to actually find the full little map that they have. But if you go to the World Economic Forum, and I'll actually pull this up here, but as I've always referenced before, I encourage everybody to go visit the World Economic Forum, because they're telling you their playbook as to what they're working towards. And that's why I believe all this sudden attention is being given to the increase in consumer goods cost. And the deliberate attack on the infrastructure when it comes to shipping. We saw the canal situation, which is just not a freak accident. That was definitely a strategic event, having that tanker clog up the canal over there. And then also we have all the food producers that are now cutting back, and then their cost to produce is definitely being impacted. So they're not as profitable. So a lot of those manufacturers and producers, they're holding back goods to basically create a price war, in a sense, against the people, because what that does is it causes prices to go up in the stores and the retail stores and whatnot. And so here's a little visual aid here. But then, as I mentioned, if you go to the top here, it says the Jobs Reset Summit. So they're laying out a lot of sick and twisted stuff. But just to give you an idea as to what's going on, if you go to click the platforms button, and when you click the platforms button, you'll see they're trying to shape the future. As it says here, shaping the future of advancing manufacturing and production. The next tab, shaping the future of digital economy and new value creation, shaping the future of financial and monetary systems. So this World Economic Forum agenda, they're trying to, as it says here, shape the future of every area of our lives. So you click on the tabs here, you'll get the full shebang, shaping the future of consumption. They don't want you to eat meat. So what better way to, take meat off your plate than to make sure food producers are having attacks, cyber attacks and stuff like that. So a lot more stuff to come. But yet every area of our lives, unfortunately, they have a plan on how to shape the future according to what they want to see. And so here's something that I wanted to bring to your attention. So as a part of this great reset, while they're trying to shape the future, they're basically shaping something that they want to see, which is ultimately going to be top down, where literally we, the people, have very little access to any ability to produce or create for ourselves without their permission or control, ultimately. And so all this boils down, and this is just something I thought about today, it boils down to an attack on the hierarchy of needs for humanity. And so if you destabilize every single area of our lives with the agenda that you'll own nothing to be happy with it, what is that basically doing? They're basically removing all types of rights, freedoms, property, you name it. And this is the first thing that came to mind here. As you guys know, I love visual aids and whatnot. But here's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And so just at the very bottom to the top, at the bottom it says food, water, warmth, and rest. So if you cut off the water, you cut off the food, you cause the price of housing to go astronomical due to the whole corruption in the banking lending sector, to where people are literally overbidding houses. I saw something today where people are bidding, 3, 4, 5 times more the house is actually listed as. People are getting an astronomical amount of offers for their listings. That's going to ultimately outprice a lot of people to afford housing. And then we got the moratoriums, the forbearance situation coming this summer. So a lot of people will lose their houses. So that alleviates the psychological needs there. And then you got safety and security. If you don't have a sense of comfort that you can provide for yourself, you're missing that. And then it goes right on up to where it ultimately destabilizes the individual because of their desire to reshape the future for what it is, what they're trying to actually accomplish. So that, to me, is one of the driving forces to this whole inflation narrative when it comes to this increased cost of consumer goods, which ultimately, as you guys saw from that little visual aid, it reduces the actual goods and services you can purchase, because why? The currency is being destroyed. But then on top of the currency being destroyed, that's not the only reason why things are becoming pricey. It's because the coordinated attack on humanity with the collaboration of the World Economic Forum and all these companies that are basically publicly traded companies, they also signed up to partner with a lot of this World Economic Forum stuff. And so they are working alongside with these people here, and they are withholding goods and services, as well as causing certain raw materials to basically be more expensive than others, causing chip shortages and all stuff like that. The earth is full of goods. Now it's just a matter of how are they distributing it or not distributing it, and what are they withholding and why. And my personal opinion is that it has to do with the fact that they've all partnered with this World Economic Forum to destabilize everything, which is leading to the sudden news that inflation is here, because the currency supply has increased significantly, 33% as of last year, in 1 year in comparison to 200 plus years. True. And globally, I want to say I saw something like about $30 trillion globally now has been created. But a lot of that is not actually in the streets. It's all literally sitting on the balance sheets of the ECB, the Fed, Japan, you name it. They actually bought all that stuff and they're sitting on it. And so perhaps this summer when people get out and start doing more of what they would like to do, then a lot of that parked currency might start circulating. And that will really then lead to further asset price increase there. So just want to start off by sharing my little 2 cents on that. But real quick, I want to go through some articles here, man, some things that I highlighted that I picked out that's worth mentioning. And then I want to open up and hear from you guys. But here's an article here, came out today. It says oil prices rise to 2-year high as OPEC and allies see higher demand. So what does that mean? Look at the pump. Look at the pump. Today I filled up my tank is almost 320. And that's extremely high. I remember 3 something. Last time I remember an outright $3, close to $4 was literally 20 years ago. And that was due to the whole terrorist event type of things. And since then, they've been a lot lower than that. Not necessarily cheap, but yet with this type of activity here, I can see pump prices going a lot higher. And once again, OPEC and their allies see higher demand. So they themselves are probably withholding some of the barrels or trying to allocate how much is made available to the public, which of course impact prices. But remember, as a part of this whole World Economic Forum, they have a plan for energy consumption. So they have a way that they want you to consume your energy. So it says shaping the future of energy, materials, and infrastructure, which means petroleum is not a part of their future because they want everything to be net carbon zero emissions. So they're going to start acting funny on the gasoline for cars, which will force you to try to go electric. So you see what I'm saying? So all this stuff here is interconnected. And then here's another article here. Restaurant raising prices across the country due to inflation. And so not only is there work shortages, labor shortages, and so the raw materials, i.e. food, that it costs to run restaurants is going up. So where does that price go? It goes right into the cost that it takes to run a business. So we're going to see higher prices at restaurants. Once again, not only will grocery store prices go up, but restaurants going up. Pick and choose. What would you prefer, to eat at home or to go to a restaurant where you're going to get, basically taxed in order to keep them in business? So you see that, that give or take that we're going to have to be choosing from pretty soon. So yeah, you let me know. But once again, this food situation here goes back to the Great Reset agenda, and it's right under shaping the future of consumption. So what you put in your mouth, they want to actually control that as well. So yeah, no surprises here. Then here's another one here. Eurozone inflation up sharply as economies reopen. And so we know the ECB is, Christine Lagarde went from the IMF to the ECB, continuing on Mario Draghi's gameplay of just continue to buy up everything they can and provide liquidity to protect and to shield the failing banking sector. But yet they overshot their target as well. And so did the Federal Reserve. Are you surprised? Not one bit. And then here's something else. One-way companies are concealing higher prices, smaller packages. So we got shrinkflation. So ultimately, when everybody goes to the grocery store now, over the last several years, the packages have all been altered. So that means that what might say certain amount of ounces, it's probably been lessened inside and they pumped a little bit more air in there. So ultimately, shrinkflation. And so that, once again, it's all about corporate profits. And so true, their costs might have gone up. But then again, I'd imagine the quality of their goods and services would probably have also lagged a little bit as well. But yet it's all about corporate profit, to where a lot of these producers here, they're either holding back goods and services or they're reducing the quality of them so that they can make a profit, especially that we have the corporate tax rate that's about to come into play this upcoming Friday when the G7 nations meet. So once again, all this goes back to the World Economic Forum agenda. And it has a lot to do with everything that they have planned. So just keep that in mind. It says shaping the future of global public goods. So yeah, doesn't surprise you one bit, hopefully. And then here's another one here. It says U.S. inflation surges to 13-year high as consumers are paying the price. And we all know what they're referring to. The price of commodities is through the roof. Lumber, gas, you name it. Anything that comes from the earth is a natural product. When it comes from the earth and when it's produced, in order to get it to manufacturers' hands, the price goes up there. And then when they get it, they double the price there. So right on down the chain, it goes up in price. So, but that's intentional as a part of the World Economic Forum agenda to destabilize things. So, and then here's the last one here, and I'll stop rambling. But it says Costco disagrees with the Federal Reserve on the future of inflation. And so, of course, Yellen and Jerome Powell talking about it's transitory, it's going to be short-lived. But yet it's short-lived given the fact that it's all geared upon consumer confidence primarily and the availability of supply of goods and services that are either being withheld or being allowed to be, put on shelves. But what happens when the confidence is reinstated and people feel a little bit more wealthier and they want to go out spending? And you factor in this upcoming July, as I mentioned before, when parents and families start getting a couple extra $100 in currency, they're more than likely going to either spend those things or they're going to save them. So if they save more, it's going to be more of a banking issue that the Federal Reserve is going to have to deal with because they are already overstocked with currency due to all the QE and purchasing and all that stuff like that and lending windows. Or if the consumers actually spend them and put them in circulation, that's going to be more pressure on the price of goods and services. So anyway, it's a no-win situation because it ultimately boils down to a lack of purchasing power of your currency. And that's why I believe that, like right now, like never before, people really should focus on preserving future purchasing power. And so I like to, talk about, purchasing power preservation. And of course, that comes in actually owning the raw materials as they come from the earth directly. That's usually the best way to have first dibs. And of course, when it comes to the monetary side of things, we know metals. But then again, owning land directly, doing your own little bit of farming and stuff like that is another way to avoid all the middlemen that's out here trying to collaborate with the World Economic Forum, ultimately draining consumers of their hard-earned currency by raking up these astronomical prices. So this is what's going on, people. But I actually wanted to, I was doing some visual aids, as you guys can see from the thumbnail tonight, just working on some visual aids to get out there. And it had me thinking about a visual aid I did a long time ago. So I'm going to stop ranting as well, but I'll open up the phone lines in a second. But I remember back in the day when I was actually hitting the streets talking about inflation. I was talking about the idea that pretty soon enough, we're going to see a situation where your everyday goods and services will become a little bit more costlier, and trying to encourage people how to get ahead of the curve. And so it all has to do with the fact that currently with this 6 trillion and all the other trillions, governments around the world, central banks around the world, they're literally reaching into the future and they're stealing future purchasing power that has been unearned or not even produced yet, that there has been no productivity for that future income. And they're bringing it into today and they're call themselves spending it to build back, to reshape this recovery, while all along they're robbing future workers, future retirees, future earners, future investors of purchasing power. So how can you counter that? And so I was out in the streets, and I'm about to start again this summer because I think it's time, because we have the silver bets movement where they're telling people to get silver, but a lot of people don't actually know why it's important. And I think it's good to share with them and show them. So this is a video I shot about 4 years ago, where I was actually on the streets asking people, what could you do with $1? And I actually had a visual aid in my hand to give people some insight as to what that is. And this guy here, he was naming everything that he could have purchased when he was a child. And so we got to about 6 things that he could have purchased for $1. And I thought that was, nice. But all the people I talked with several people, they all walked away having a better understanding of what preservation of purchasing power meant. And it had to do with this little flyer that I shared with people right here. And so I was walking around sharing this flyer with people and just basically handing it out to people. And on this flyer here, I think it did a good job of summarizing my whole point, and the idea that over time your currency is guaranteed to purchase less. So the best way to get ahead of the curve is to literally acquire something with monetary properties that can preserve future purchasing power. So it's the equivalent of you reaching into the future as well by using today's dollars or Federal Reserve notes in your pocket and buying a piece of silver or a piece of gold or anything equivalent that will be a sponge to all that liquidity that is going to be brought into existence, which will make life very costly now, but will give you a heads up in the future. And just to show you here, I was actually comparing Federal Reserve note versus the US dollar, a big difference there. And I was actually using this graph here where it's showing that since the Federal Reserve, the purchasing power of a piece of paper has gone down significantly. But yet, if you would have had a silver dollar, Morgan dollar, peace dollar in the early 1900s, give or take, which was worth $1, today, adjusted for inflation, it would be a lot higher. And then you factor in, how much you could have actually set aside and saved in your own possession, you would be a lot better off. And so, as you guys can see here, the price of silver has went up tremendously and is nowhere near where it should be because of the manipulation. So people would have been better off, say, three or 4 years ago when I told them all this, to have gotten an ounce at maybe $12, $13, $15 or something like that. As of today, with the premiums added on to what you're paying today for a silver eagle, you're paying close to 40-ish something dollars. So think about that. That's a $25 increase if you had just purchased it 3 or 4 years ago, as most of you guys, I'm sure, are aware. So imagine this same time frame now, purchasing 1 ounce of silver is the equivalent of reaching into your own future and extracting what will not be there in purchasing power because it's being brought here by the government, and allowing that over time to just grow because it will act like a sponge for you. So anyway, a lot more information here, but I was actually just talking about which could you have purchased 1913, 1971, and 2017. And so if you had that same ounce of silver, 1913, you would have had a basket full. 1971, you would have did pretty decent as well. And 2017, if you priced it in silver at this current moment there, you still would have got, maybe a third of a basket. Whereas with a Federal Reserve note, you would have got a bag of chips. But now you can't even get that bag of chips. So that's how bad things are in relation to how inflation has robbed everybody. But anyway, enough of me ranting, man. I can go on and on, but I'm not. But anyway, a lot of visual aid stuff I just enjoy doing. And so let's talk, man. Give me a call. Let's talk. I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What are you keeping an eye on, or highlight at Rethinking a Dollar and throw out a question or a comment? I would love to chime in and have you share your thoughts. So feel free to give me a call. Let's talk. I have to check out the video. What else we got here? So, I want to share. Let me see here. What I had something I want to talk about earlier. Let me see if I can find it. And so, as I mentioned, there's a lot of interesting articles in the Discord page that I was going to talk on, but yet I got sidetracked with this inflation stuff, and I wanted to share my 2 cents on that. So for everybody who came in late, I basically linked the World Economic Forum's agenda to them ultimately trying to destabilize humanity because they need to, as they say in their article, reshape our future. And so it happens to be their desire to destabilize humanity by picking at our hierarchy of needs. Literally, they're from the top down, like the whole idea of self-actualization. When we were told last year that you're not essential, to stay at home and and don't raise your hand unless you can come outside, that is it plays on people's self-worth. And so a lot of people have been impacted by that. Hence, just the amount of suicides over the last year has been way higher than a lot of other things typically happen. Anyway, hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Mike, Tony from Oakland. How you doing, brother?
TB, doing good, my man. How you doing?
I'm good. How was your birthday?
It was good, man. Very relaxing. Had a chance to eat some good food and just hang out with fam, man. So it was good. Typically, I would like to have traveled, but wasn't able to do that. So
good. You won't be able to do that for a while until you take the jab.
Right, and that's a problem. So I'm gonna be stateside a lot. Anyway, it's a lot of my own country I haven't seen yet. But what's going on with you, man?
Deflation.
Yeah.
You see my arguments, right?
Yeah, I see it and I hear it. And that's where I think there's room for everybody to be right. Because go ahead.
No, I'll wait.
No, I think so. The people on the deflation side, i.e. Steve Van Meter, he lays out a great case as to why the current events and the QE it has more deflationary properties than inflationary. So I can see that. And then also on the asset price distortions in consumer goods at the shelf, when it goes from $2 to $2.50, it's considered to be an inflationary event as well. So that impacts people as well. So I can see cases for both of those because we are literally, we're in a Mad Max type of environment, my man, in my opinion.
The inflation is forced inflation,
no doubt,
and I'll keep saying that, and I'll keep putting out examples of it.
Yeah.
The last one is this the meat shortage for LBS or whatever the hell the name is.
JBS.
Yeah, that is a company that's based out of Brazil.
Yeah.
And the only people that got shut down was the United States. They're all over the world.
Yeah.
But the only people that got shut down is the United States. Mm-hmm. And if you read that article that's in Discord, it said that they shut down the main line, but the backups were still running. Mm-hmm. But why are you going to shut down everything if the backups are still running? Same thing happened with the Colonial Pipeline. Mm-hmm. That pipeline's been running before the internet was up.
Yeah.
So there should have been a backup to that to where it shouldn't affect the oil that much, the flow.
Yeah.
It gives everybody an opportunity to take a piece of that pie, mm-hmm. and we pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the way it's going to be with all commodities. It only happens in the commodities.
Right. So we're going to have water next, energy, more sectors and energies next. So every area that sustains our day-to-day lives will be impacted with some type of cyber event. Would you say?
I wouldn't go as much as water. My whole premise is for all this happening and why things just don't seem right, why things just don't fit, square pegs and round holes, it doesn't seem right. They know something big is coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
And I think it's more of a CME from the sun. Mm-hmm. And I got on my tinfoil hat tonight.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a CME from the sun that is they're trying to issue everybody into something digital, mm-hmm. everybody in something that's going to put you in the stock market where if it goes down, then, they're not going to give you back your stuff.
Right.
I don't care who you are. And they're just seem like they're just issuing people all into the digital thing. And then when this thing goes down, then there ain't going to be no more digits.
Right. And that sounds like a twisted game plan, because if you lure everybody into the digital realm, as you mentioned, and it makes it easier to concentrate as much of all the old financial products. If people sell off and then they jump into the new stuff, it makes it a lot easier to try to say that it was not our fault. They can blame it somewhere else, and it'd be a lot easier than if the bank go down here and then insurance companies go. So if there's a chain effect of things, it makes it a lot harder to sell that, because it'll be multiple events rather than just one in this whole digital trap that they're setting up. So I can see that 100%, man.
And that could be, I'm going to let you go after this, that could be why you own nothing.
Yeah. You own nothing to be happy with it. Yeah. So as twisted as that sounds, that is definitely their game plan. And they told us about it. And as I was mentioning earlier, if you look at the World Economic Forum and they're them shaping our future, it all has to do with it being controlled by somebody other than the individual itself. So however that shapes out, it's going to be corporations or governments merged or however, but it won't be the people themselves. So yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
We just stayed up and prayed up. That's all I say.
Exactly, my man. And take matters into your hands as much as you can to remove yourself from the system in whatever way you can. Like literally right now, property rights are still respected. Enjoy and try to learn and educate yourself in those areas. That's why this summer I'm big on a lot of things that I don't know as a city boy, just because I need to know it. So that's my way of trying to take matters into my own hands a little bit.
I agree, and then too, your value, your worth is worth something to other people, mm-hmm. not necessarily what you got in the bank.
Right.
It's your skill set that is a value to people. If this thing goes down like it's supposed to, or like I think it's supposed to, then you got to have some skill set to bring to the table. Right now, they're bartering with Bitcoin.
Right.
And what's going to be next after Bitcoin's done, after this thing goes down, in my opinion, mm-hmm. you got to have some skills, some sort of set of knowledge that you got to come with and work it that way.
Yeah.
Because, we go back to the golden days. Everybody wants to say 29. How about 1829?
Lights out, man. Hey, man, appreciate you calling, man.
Talking at you, brother. Keep your head up.
Yeah. All right. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Appreciate the call. So give me a call, man. Phone lines are open. Let's talk. Let me see. Low blood pressure says, learn how to shoot it straight. I am shooting it straight, LBP. What you got in mind, man? So, that's the thing. Like, on a public forum that I don't own outright, there are limitations to what I can say and how I can say it. And that's why I try to make sure I provide people a platform to share their insights so we can learn together and talk through these things in an acceptable way, give or take the algorithms are listening. And so the ultimate goal for me is to try to reach as many people as possible while they're still trying to encourage them to try to disconnect from the financial system as fast as they can. And so a lot of that has to do with the concept here and showing them this and basically saying that anything that's locked up there, the risk falls on you because it just doesn't belong to you. So that's kind of what I focus on. But then for the RTD off air is when we can talk, shoot it up straight, then that's a different subject matter. So, but yet I feel you, man. What else we got here? Just feel free to talk. Shoot me a call. Phone lines are open. I am available. I'm perfectly fine with being a broke slave of the state. Miles, I know you're joking, my man. I know you are joking. Faith Parent says, how hell King Jesus? I remember with that one. Corneal mass ejection is nonsense. Yeah, and so I think CME, what do we got here? It says, what did Napoleon sell Louisiana for? I would assume precious metals. I don't know offhand. What else we got here? It says, I need to go purchase my solar generator. That definitely would be good. I happened to have grabbed one a few years ago. What else we got? Outcome. This is only 6'8", but 197 watching. Yeah, so if you guys are tuning in, hit that thumbs up button, show your support for the channel, and then give me a call. Phone lines are open. I want to hear from you. What are you guys keeping on? What in your basket have you noticed, or how have you dialed back, or what are you guys doing out there when it comes to certain grocery items or food items or whatever items you might normally use? What are you doing? Have you already stocked up or dialing back or getting alternatives or whatnot? Let me see here. It says there are some good prepper channels I like to watch that talks about different things like this. Lasting Prepper and Lid Farmer. These are 72, just to name a few. Yep. So Emmanuel, I've had Alaska Prepper join me a couple times on the channel. A wealth of knowledge, dropping nuggets. And so those that have been training and preparing for several years now are ahead of the curve. They're no longer the crazy ones. So yeah, but those guys go deep, man. They talk about how to can jars, and I remember Alaska Preppers talking about how to, airtight your cans and stuff like that. Like that's that next level of preparation. And it says, let's hang the politicians, lawyers, and bankers when this goes down. Dr. Moda, unfortunately, as always, the politicians and the central bankers, whatever it is, whatever event or chain of events that go down, they always do a good job of having somewhere to point the blame to. And so they'll never take ownership for the dismantling of our country just because they are just yes men and women. They don't really call the shots. Everything they do is bought and paid for by the globalists that's trying to orchestrate this experience. So they're going to definitely say it's not our fault. They're going to say, unfortunately, they love using the word Russia a lot. So believe me, that's still on the table. Says ammo prices are insane right now. Yeah, it's been a while since I've loaded up myself, but I consider myself to have a decent supply. So it's one of the things you can never have too much. But then again, it's always good to stock up. And I wonder, are there any online places that people are aware of that you can connect the audience with? Feel free to do so. If anybody buy online, if they're still there, let us know. Murray says, neuro-linguistic programming, a powerful tool developed in the USA of A language in a whole new way that they're using in primitive way. Yeah, NLP. So I have interest in studying NLP and that whole concept of reframing and anchoring and that stuff like that. So that's something I think is very useful just for self-development. So I've been aware of that. And there's a lot of good books that I've thumbed through that definitely can help in the self-development realm. Just had 2 new chicks hatch today. Oh, really, Sandra? Okay. Just had 2 new chicks hatch today. Moving forward. Okay, that's love. So I see more people in my atmosphere deciding to get themselves some chickens, and so that's becoming a popular thing. So I myself looked into it, but it's like here in winter, got to figure out how to winterize and how to, keep the chicks warm and all that stuff like that. That's a whole level of work on top of everything else. I am planting a garden, okra and black-eyed peas. Okay, that's love there. Low blood pressure, Mike. What's your plan B? Plan B, LBP can be very. It can be very interesting because it all it's subject to whatever circumstances that are present. So it's hard to describe a plan B because usually people would say plan B. If this doesn't work, I'm gonna bug out and go here. But depending on what's going down, I don't really think there's anywhere that will not be impacted by this. So I would say my plan B would be to hunker down and just continue to do more of what I'm doing now. And then also a lot of that is subject to my desire to, try to walk in faith and not fear. So this goes into the spiritual elements as well, in reading Revelations today. And a lot of things was brought to my attention on how we unfortunately get caught up in the things of this life as if it's permanent. So it's one of those things where we could literally be fighting a dead cause just because as a part of the long-term aspect of our lives, for those of faith, technically speaking, this is not our final place here. So I don't want to be one of those guys out here that's, giving up. But then again, it's not necessarily my battle 100% because, as I mentioned, I believe personally, I'm just journaling through this land here. So that's another area where it allows me to rest more peacefully at night because it's not my battle outright. So I'm not alone in this. So, but I hear you. But anyway, feel free to let me know what if you have a plan B. James, how low is water table where you live? It says looking at Berkeley water filter. Yep, James, buying a Berkeley water filter. Yep, got one of those. It's key. The thing that is coming is a financial collapse. So no solar flares or ice age. Jane, so that's another thing where right now we got a couple days from now, we're going to be introduced with, extraterrestrial life. And as I mentioned before, as they try to pump that out there, of course, all governments going to try to get unified to come up with some, unified governing body to prepare for an invasion or something like that. So we're about to literally go into some sci-fi world type of stuff here. And so with that right there can probably lead to more government expenditures as far as them racking another several trillion to try to come up with space programs and all that craziness. So that could prolong this financial collapse a little bit more because that'll be more liquidity and more funds pumped into the system to keep this thing going. So we'll never know what's coming, but yet we all know that something is happening right now because they've, March 2020 was the official launch date of the globalist agenda to reset the world. So we're in the midst of a financial issue right now. Just look at the amount of currency that's been created, man. That alone lets us know that those who are actually expecting to have a promising future, you cannot set aside a certain amount of currency expected to be able to retain purchasing power. Nevertheless, to have compounding interest in a world where we're already zero or negative, depending on where you're at. That's compound inflation. So everything is being sped up and intentionally because they have a time frame for this. So, but that's what it is, people. It says hit like to share, spread the truth and silver. Yeah, definitely, man. Get your weight up. Take advantage of the manipulation while you still can. Ben Baker says store water using stabilized oxygen is cheap and the water tastes normal when you need it. Lots of 5-gallon food grade containers on Amazon. Ben, good stuff, man. Appreciate you for sharing that knowledge. Got to places of sanctuary. Hope we qualify. We should warn everyone that the fake invasion is coming so that they don't believe it when it comes. We should warn everyone that the fake invasion is coming so they don't believe it when it comes. Yeah. So, and so once again, I as I get ready to wrap this thing down, phone lines are relatively silent. So you guys are enjoying the chat and me ranting. So that's fine. But I was in Revelations 12 today and I was actually, led in that direction. And what I came across was, let me actually pull it up here. So since I got some time on my hands, I'll pull it up here because a lot of things jumped out at me and it has a lot to do with deception. And let me, it was a very timely word this morning. And it had to do with deception and the author of deception, the enemy himself. And let me show you guys directly for those that are my Bible people. Let me see here. And it has a lot to do with the biblical prophecy of end times and the chronological order and the chain of events of things as they occur. And let me show you some things here. Let me see here. And so I'll just put this on the screen here. So I'll just pick up at verse 7 real quick for my people who are, people who enjoy the Bible. It says, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against a dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven, and the great dragon was cast out, the old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. And so what jumped out to me is deception. Like, given this whole stuff that's coming our way and how they're trying to package it up together, deception is going to be key. And I looked at it basically as just creating a false reality in front of people's eyes based upon our human senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and I forgot the other sense, whatever, off the top of my head. But a lot of people who solely live through the carnal nature, their flesh nature, it's going to be easier to deceive those individuals, because those are the people who have become extremely comfortable with this current life here that we have now, as if it's all there is to their existence. And that's the part that's going to get a lot of people caught up, because literally the enemy, and it says, he was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice coming to says, let me say here, and says, he's the accuser of the brethren, which accuses them before God day and night, and they overcome him by the blood of the Lamb and the word of the testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. And so I think that plays a lot into people understanding, this life, it's temporary. Of course, it's given to us as a gift from God, but yet loving your life unto death can really, it can cause more harm than good. And so it's one thing to enjoy life, but yet realize it's not forever. And we're here for a purpose to accomplish some things so that we're not all caught up in the world affairs, because literally the deceiver is going to do a lot of crazy things, but realize that he's already, as it says here, we've overcome with the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so those are two powerful factors that we have on our side already as believers. So, but yet what jumped out earlier was the fact that he has an appointed time. Let me see if I can find that. He has an appointed time to do as much damage as he can. Did cast him in earth dragons to before a woman, as she brought forth a man who was called. Okay, so I didn't have this planned at all, but basically in here it says that he has an appointed time to cause as much deception as possible. And definitely this extraterrestrial stuff plays into that limited time frame that he has as a deceiver. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Ed from Columbus. How you doing, Mike?
Hey, I'm doing good, my friend. How you doing? What's on your mind?
Hey, man, I'm prepped up really, really good, but I can't get anybody to give me a timeline on, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I respect your wisdom and your insight on things. Just tell the audience, what do you think is going to go down in the next 12 months? And, I just can't figure out, some of the moves, I might need to make. I just can't figure out a timeline on how quick this is going to be or how slow it's going to be.
Great question. My personal opinion is that, as I always reference it, March 2020 was the start date according to what they've structured. And it's all interconnected with your participation in this health situation and the injection stuff. So all those will factor in. And I think they desire for it to be a slow burn. And so it's one of them things where exactly it depends on what are you looking for. Like, what are you looking for? You're looking for a banking meltdown. Looking for, Armageddon, end of the world, riots in the streets, civil. I mean, so all that stuff is probably in the cards, but there is no time frame for it because the reset is already underway right now. So that will be my concern. Like, what are you looking for at one single event, which I don't think there will be one, because they are trying to strategically do it in every area of our lives in chronological order. So I don't think there'll be one event unless they lose control of it. Then stuff will hit the fan, but I wouldn't bank on that happening because they can do a good job of trying to paper stuff over for quite some time, possibly. So that would be my first thought. But what exactly are you looking for, if I may ask?
Well, I guess the main thing would be, just for everything to break loose, and it could be, many things could cause that, a banking meltdown, obviously, could get some things started. Yeah. But, I hope you're right. I hope it is a slow burn. But, if they really want to blow this thing up, I think they can do it anytime they want. Yeah, definitely. But then I think if they were to blow it up, I don't think that they are fully prepared to roll out what's next. And that's why I don't think they want to lose control of this narrative. So I think they're comfortable with slowing things down to where they can still have time to build up their, evil plan behind the scenes, their plan A and B if need be. So that's why I think they would rather have a slow process than an overnight cut the lights off and then wake up tomorrow morning
and we in a completely new world because we don't have the CBDC stuff yet. So how would they roll that out in the midst of civil unrest and chaos? That'd be hard. And then you have the one world governance body type of stuff. They're trying to give more power to the UN for a global taxation of the corporations and the wealth tax. So they need time for that. So, I mean, it's sick and twisted, but I don't think they want to do this overnight, in my opinion. So, but I'm glad because it gives us a chance to enjoy life and further prepare and seek God's wisdom in the meantime, because who would want to be just thrown out in darkness and call yourself having to fend for yourself? Because a lot more, majority of the people are not awake and aware or prepared. So I would not want anything to happen overnight for the other people's sake. You know what I'm saying? Never mind me and mine, even though I know a little something, got a couple things saved up. But, you know, once again, how prepared can you be for what you don't know is coming in its entirety? You know what I'm saying? So, but you got a year's worth, 2 years worth, then what? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm just grateful for having a sense of normalcy today as best it is as I can, and trying to make the best of every moment I can, man, while I still got it. So,
yeah, that's good. That's good. You know, a lot of people say, you know, you got to trust the Lord. You know, there's verses in the Bible that, you know, don't store up in barns, and, you know, and, you know, the birds, you got to take care of them. You know, God takes care of the birds, this, that, and the other. But yet Joseph prepared for a famine and saved a whole lot of people in different countries. You know, his brothers came, you know, they had a 6-year famine.
Yeah.
You know, so there's got to be a balance there. But what do you think about money in the bank, Mike? Would you keep, you know, large chunks of money in the bank?
In this current environment, it's more risk falls on the depositors than the creditors, or the more risk falls on the depositors than the institutions, because they're going to be backed by, you know, by the banks and stuff like that, the central banks. And so depositors are the ones on the hook. And the Dodd-Frank Act that was put in place 2011 is still in play, which basically says that, you know, depositors are like third-tier creditors. So they have every right to bail in your accounts and say you don't own it, we'll give you shares. So if that does happen, then, you know, you're up, you know, a creek without a paddle. So I personally would keep just enough in there to survive, and nothing more, nothing less. Pay my daily bills, have an emergency fund at best, and that's it. But that's just me. So a lot of people, you know, who are not awake and aware, they have their entire lives still in the financial system. So to try to tell them to disconnect and unplug is not as easy. So, but yet my personal opinion is that, you know, I don't trust banks, because that FDIC stuff is a sham anyway, because it's only, you know, 1 penny per, you know, $1 trillion available to the depositors. So you're not going to be able to get much anyway, in my opinion. So good stuff, man.
All right. I appreciate your help. Thanks,
appreciate
Mike.
you. All right. So real quick before I get ready to dial back, here is a visual I put together a while ago, and it lists some of the key events as they were unfolding. So I pretty much went through all the history books, and I just put out a lot of key dates and key pieces of information relevant to this last reset of the current monetary system, where there's something tangible you can hold. Gold and silver was taken. Now paper is going to be taken, and then we're going to be left with some digital digits here. And so here is every major event that took place in the last, give or take, 10, 11 years. And so right here, the fourth one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth dot is the Dodd-Frank Act of 2010. And I actually, I don't know what section it is, but if you read through there, you'll see that the FDIC has been given control to oversee the what's it called, the regulation, as well as the dismemberment of all the too big to fail banks liabilities. So they have been given charge to basically say who gets paid and who doesn't. And if you read through all their paperwork stuff that I've actually covered videos before, you can see that, you know, if you're a depositor in one of the too big to fail banks, you're not even on there, people. So it's unfortunate, but the system's not designed. The system's not designed to make sure you are protected in the long run, especially during a great reset. So, but that's just a little information here, man. But anyway, so with that being the case, people, I'll get ready to dial back. Appreciate everybody for checking in and sharing your 2 cents this evening, rather. Hope everyone is blessed and doing well. Hit that thumbs up if you've enjoyed this. Face to face, Mike, I got a haircut. LBP, man. Join us. We'll do tomorrow night for the hangout. I'll see you on that link, man. What else? So anyway, people, as I mentioned, preparation as best you can, but preparation definitely, it should start with prayer, because we all need wisdom and guidance from beyond our current knowledge base, because we know some things, but we don't know enough to be able to stand these times that are ahead And so definitely that's where it's always good to call upon the Lord, and definitely the Holy Spirit will do your wonders, man, because he's a part of you if you're believing. If you're not, I actually had just a little testimony real quick. I want to share this. It's today in the weight room, had a chance to, connect with a young guy, and we were in a sauna, and he was just wondering, he's just asking about spirituality. So we had a great little chance to talk about faith. And I actually talked about, a podcast I did on a different channel right lately that did a great job of just dropping some seeds. That's my whole job. Just drop seeds and let the Lord do the watering and supply everything else and give him some sunlight and do what he do. But it was great to be able to share, the good news with somebody directly, because I used to do that a lot when I was younger, but gotten away from it. So Alaska Prepper, how you doing, man? I ain't forgot about you, buddy. I'm going to connect with you. I'll shoot you an email after we get done streaming here. I'd love to have you back on the show to drop some more knowledge, man, on the preps type of thing. So appreciate you. But anyway, so yeah, basically, one thing I encourage everybody to do, everybody's at a different place in their life right now, but yet we're all called to bear fruit. But we can't bear fruit unless we sow seeds. And that sow seeds is simply, as the word says right here, and I think this is very timely, and how this came to me today, is that we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so I'll highlight this again. And they overcame by the blood of the Lamb and the word of their testimony. And so the word of my testimony ultimately is what I shared today with that young man, as to how God has been a blessing to me, and has he done great things for me, and yada, 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 just to be upfront and honest with him, man. So I think that definitely, it opened up a doorway for the Lord to do what he has to do. And that's all I could ask for. But anyway, people, for that being the case tonight, appreciate everybody for hanging out with me. If you've enjoyed the back and forth, hit that thumbs up. And then also want to make sure you guys are aware of where to connect with RTD outside of here. We're going over right now, hit the Discord page. So if you guys are interested, click the social media tab down below, and then click on the fourth button, join the Discord page, and you can share articles, videos, or whatnot, from your favorite content creators. And, that'll be a good way to stay connected. And then also, while there's still time, the RTD Get Your Weight Up rounds are still available. It's kind of big here, but as you guys can see, the round is still available for those that are interested. If you're interested in supporting the channel and being a piece of history here with something limited and unique in nature, feel free to get yourself one there. And we go from there. But anyway, people, I'm about to bow my head and say a good prayer for those who want to tune in with me on the prayer side of things. The word says, whenever two or more are gathered in his name, he's there. So I'm believing that God is in the midst of all this right now. So have no fear, be of good courage, because we're on the winning side. But Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for the opportunity to gather tonight, this Tuesday, the first day of the month of June. Lord, I ask that you give all of us wisdom and insight as to what your plans are for our lives individually and collectively as the body of Christ. Lord, I ask that you would give all the people tuning in to the sound of my voice wisdom and guidance on how to maneuver these waters ahead, that they may be a blessing to others, that they may sow seeds that produce fruit that benefits your kingdom now and in eternity. Father, we ask that you allow us all to come to our true gifts so that we can serve other people and be a blessing and continue to shine light, because we are light and salt in this dirty, dark world, Father. And we just ask that your will be done in all places of government and power, that people will act in accordance to righteousness and not evil, Father. We ask in the name of Jesus in advance for your kingdom to come, your will to be done on earth as it is in heaven. Amen. All right, people, that's all she wrote, man. Had to end on some good news today. So anyway, be blessed, be safe. I will see you guys tomorrow. Oh, actually, tomorrow I have the RTD Hangout. So not doing a live stream. I'm dedicating Wednesday night to the Patreon gang so they can dial in and share their 2 cents. And last week we had a chance. Someone called in and dialed in from the Middle East and gave us the whole rundown of what's happening in the Middle East. And it's a much different atmosphere out there in the Middle East, man. So if anybody's interested, feel free to join us there and we can connect. Other than that, be blessed, be safe. I will see you guys later. Peace.